Well, let's move on to the first topic of someone who knocked out the market yesterday with some of his comments, which are Jerome Powell. Jerome Powell, chair of the Federal Reserve, who, by the way, just got confirmed to be chair again, said he won't hesitate to keep rising interest rates. In fact, he said 75 basis points are not off the table, especially because inflation has not necessarily gone down. People are saying maybe it peaked, but not going down. Producer price index came out showing that inflation is actually accelerating. So Jay Powell says, look, we might have to crash the market essentially to get this thing under control. Justin, let's start off with you. Do you anticipate a 75 basis points hike? And if you do see that happening, do you think this little rally we've been on goes away?
I don't know about 75 basis points or 50 basis points. We'll know well ahead of time, and the market will crash if it is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think where I'm at now is it's an inevitability of a recession. Or, I mean, that's hyperbole, but I think I've come up from 50% chance to maybe 85% chance, maybe 90% chance of a recession, given we're already 1 quarter into a negative GDP print. But although that to be said, right, I don't think this is an interesting one because there isn't blood on Main Street. There's blood on Wall Street, but not blood on Main Street. Main Street, people just think about your everyday, like lines out the door, in certain, people are still buying things just in lower basket sizes. We're seeing that in the data. Prices are going up, so people are just moderating their spending. There is a negative wealth effect as stocks come down and crypto comes down. But for Main Street that just earns a W-2 income, the labor market's very, very strong. So I think this is going to be a shallower recession, but maybe more elongated. So something that is more stagnation as opposed to blood in the streets 08 crisis. So it's going to be,
which is probably the best type of recession, right, Justin? That Wall Street suffers versus average people.
I would hope so. And so the question is, if spending it moderates itself as we raise rates but doesn't fall off a cliff, then maybe inflation comes to heel much more quickly. We need to avoid the 1970s, 80s doldrums. But yeah, if you have a major crash like 2000 or especially 2008, it's going to be, it takes 6 years for the S&P to get back to break even.
Wow. All right, Tom, what do you think we're headed for?
This is like the highest energy emit I've seen in 6 months, and the highest. I mean, whoa. What's going on?
No, that's 6 year stat actually. That's why
you're taking the ambient before the show. What's going on, my guy? Wake up. Listen. Here's the thing about Jerome Powell. There's a lot to talk about. I'll try to condense it into 1 minute. With JP, here's the problem. He's like the bouncer right now that does not want to beat up somebody, but wants to get him to basically to back out. So he's saying, look, dude, I'm going to fuck you up, right? So he doesn't want to get into a fight because the fight means that they break the entire club, glasses break, all the guests go away, the revenue of the club gets hit, the reputation, police, there's a whole, he obviously can beat up the guy, but he doesn't want to. He just wants to intimidate. So Jerome Powell is saying this to cause the effect without actually having to raise the interest, because the equivalent of what I just told you is that whole breakage of the club is just the U.S. national debt. There's just too much debt right now. Raising the interest too far is going to pretty much make us unable to repay debt. We're already paying like $500 billion a year for interest with 0% or 0.25%. So we can't afford it. So he's just trying to finagle himself in order to cause the market to get an effect of an interest rate hikes without actually going too far with it. Now, as far as what Justin said, as far as the recession, look, if you go back in history, you look at how much recessions we had, there's always been commonalities, especially the last two, which is dot-com bubble, 2008 crisis. The commonalities were that there was a lot of, there's a lot of belief that this time is different. Yeah, we had, internet is different, or real estate is different. It's not going to be like dot-com, it's stable, right? So the same thing we have right now. It's different. It's disruptive. It's the whole Cathy Wood mantra. It's disruption. It's going to deflate everything she said, right? So we have that. And on top of that, we have the negative catalyst, which basically ignites this whole dumpster fire. And now we have two, Russia-Ukraine war and inflation. So I don't see a scenario where the market itself, not the stock market, the economy doesn't take a massive hit. And unfortunately, as sad as it is, it's inevitable and it's necessary to restart it, because I don't know if you go back to Volcker days as far as how bad the shit was, but we definitely have to go through some bad times to get out of it, to stop inflation. You cannot kill a disease without taking antibiotics, which also, weakens your body. It's just how you handle high inflationary times. That's it.
Justin, if the S&P does get down, let's say to 3,400, and do you think it's going to take again 6 years to get back to 478, which is where we were last year, or do you think there is some acceleration?
It depends on how long we're stuck with inflation. And if the S&P goes down, I just want to remind everybody, the market is like a leading indicator. So we're feeling the pain in our portfolios right now before the actual thing happens. And I mean, you even just look at the pandemic, right? It crashed before the worst of the cases,
right?
And so I think the rebound is going to happen and inflect based on if we can shake off inflation, whether through demand destruction / money destruction, money quantitative tightening.
Okay.
Well, that was a great timing for you. I'll just add. I think that I would call him out on some bullshit because JP actually said, "Oh, this is the fastest in recent history that the Fed ever raised rates." I mean, define what do you mean in recent history? I mean, in the 80s, it was much faster, much more aggressive. So again, it's a little bit, I would say, manipulative to say that. He cannot say the real reason, which is basically he cannot raise interest rates, literally, because of what I just said earlier. Again, he has to carry the shame of saying, "Oh, there's no problem, everything is fine, it's transitory," to, well, it is something, but it's probably fleeting, we'll just handle it with a little bit increase rates, to now basically screaming, "Oh my God, we're all going to die." So he has to carry that shame, and unfortunately, I don't think it ever goes away because it's a big boo-boo.